Hi, today is a very special day, at least to me. I'm reviewing the brand new Godox FV150. This is a combination of an LED/flash into a single unit, and apparently it looks like I'm the first YouTube channel to make this review, so I'm quite honored and privileged about that. Oh, it's still in production, we don't have the retail package yet or whatever, and I said I don't care, ship this thing wrapped on newspaper, I don't care. And here it is after 3 days, all the way from China, Hong Kong to here. So I feel very special and very proud and honored to reveal something that's not even available for the consumers to buy yet. The release date apparently is between November the 26th or the 30th, somewhere in that neighborhood. Comes with the usual 7-inch reflector, the usual dust cap for the LED, and also the same thick cable that you find when you purchase the Godox 60W or 60Y, which, by the way, the key light here is being lit by the Godox SL60Y, which is a beautiful light because this entire room is tungsten and I can just fire this up, no gels to mess with. This is a purchase that I highly recommend, especially when you have to match tungsten light. The bicolor doesn't work for me because when you dial the different colors you lose intensity, so that's why they make the Godox SL60W and the 60Y. So I would recommend you buying a light specifically for tungsten and the other one for daylight, which is what I'm looking at here. So this light, for being a LED/flash combination, which is already interesting, before I power this light on, I want to show you the stuff that's outside here. I love the black and yellow accents that they put here. Also the roundness of the light, looks like a little torpedo or whatever. The fan is also yellow, which, by the way, this is a quiet fan. Moving on, they have a space underneath here for you to attach an umbrella. You simply open the umbrella. Actually, this umbrella is going to be hitting my microphone, it's going to get in the way of everything, but the umbrella goes right there, and then you tighten it here, and there you go. I'm not an umbrella kind of guy, but this is good to have here in case I'm lazy for some reason, or to do something that doesn't really matter as far as lighting or anything, but I usually prefer my soft boxes, my modifiers in general. But umbrella will be the last thing that I will do, but again, they include the thing here. And here's the same reflector that you see on any Godox SL series, other than it has a longer tab here, which you can actually remove to insert the umbrella through. The front LED element here, it has a glass in front of it, so if you touch it with a finger, I wouldn't recommend to do that, but you're not touching the actual LED. It has a glass over here. Another thing that I really like about this light here is the yoke. I've seen some yokes that look like the stick, but the aluminum here, they go, how to explain this? It gets thinner here, but thicker, just design-wise, but this whole thing is as thick as this side over here. So when I put my big modifiers here, which I intend to install a 55, 65-inch parabolic softbox or umbrella, whatever you want to call it, it's always a good idea to use some kind of a counterbalance, because what I do is, just like you boom a microphone or a light, you want to balance the weight. You want to have the whole thing loose until like there's no friction here, right? So put your big umbrella of softbox here, this thing is gonna pull down like that, right? So you put the necessary weight with a sandbag. Don't put sand on a bag. Put regular gym weights in there, 5 and 5 pounds. Keep adding until the thing stabilizes like this. So when you raise the light, it's gonna stay, and it's going to stay down like that. Once you find the center of gravity, then you can just lightly tighten this and the light is not going to go anywhere. If you don't want to put any type of counterbalance on the back, you don't have to. I just like, because I think that's the best way to do when you have those things available. So this is going to hold pretty nice because this is not going anywhere. Okay, this is very strong, but I don't like to put that much force and stress on anything. That's just me. But I highly recommend the counterbalance. And by the way, this is not a dual knob system. I think only one should do, apparently. So here's the back of the light. The first thing that you will notice that these buttons, they are kind of a rubber made, so they are pretty nice to touch. It feels great. And also they're kind of silent. It doesn't click loud. And this display here, I'm not sure if that's an OLED display, but it looks just like one. And it's at least 1.5 to 2 times bigger than the SL series Godox, which you can see the information from a far distance. So I'm going to start with the LED feature first here. So this button here controls the intensity, and as you can see, it goes from 0 to 1% increments, of course, all the way to 100%. Then you go back all the way to not 1% but 0, which means off. Over here you have your group channel button. Press it once quickly. You can change the ID from 0 to 9, and then it goes to A, B, C, D, E, F, and then back to 0. You can either press here or press here. To change the channel, long press this button. It's the same knob that's going to change the settings from 1 to 32, I believe. Then goes back to 1. You can either press here or there. I'm going to press here this time to confirm. There you go. By the way, any button that you press here, if you don't do anything, it's going to clear out to the default display. Should happen in a few seconds. There you go. On LED, when you press the menu button once, you have the F1. The 01 is the ID. You press and hold here, and then you can actually change the ID to 99, I believe. And also off. Mine is set to 1. And by the way, to pair this remote with this, you will need this particular thing on the menu here to match what's on the remote. Now to access the flash part of the light here, click this LED/flash once, and then here's your flash power, which is controlled by the right knob. You can switch from full power, which is 1, in 1/3 breakdowns, and then you have your half, then same thing, your quarter, your eighth, and then down to 1/16, and finally off. Keep in mind, of course, with the off here, you cannot fire anything because the light is set to off. So as far as my experience goes with flash, studio flash or on-camera flash, I believe this thing might have the same mechanism here, using some extra capacitors to make the flash thing possible. So every time with any studio light, any flash pretty much, if you're shooting this at full power, which is 1:1 right now, if you're shooting like, you know, hundreds of pictures like this, one after another, this might actually overheat, just like every other flash might overheat. In this case, you either turn the light off to give it a break, or decrease the intensity at least half or even quarter if you can, and then you continue to do your work. Just pump up your ISO from 200 to 800, and then you resume work. Just to keep that in mind, because you're not supposed to be shooting like crazy with the thing at a full power. And as you can see, there's no beep over here. When you press this button, the flash goes off. But if you are in front of the light, you're not here in the back to see what's going on. So I wish there was a beep or some sort of a signal going on. There is one way to remedy the situation, but I still would prefer the beep, or probably both at the same time. So over here, you press this knob here once. You will see the bulb icon coming in, and this is actually the modeling light. So it has nothing to do with the flash. So you have a full power here, and the modeling light with this knob, you can adjust from 5% to 100%. Turn off the modeling light, all you gotta do is press it once, and the modeling light is out. So you can continue to use the flash in case you're doing some time exposure or anything that requires complete darkness when you're shooting maybe a display of some sort, and then, you know, something like that. So right now I am at a ratio of 1:1 on the flash, and also 100% on the modeling light here. So everything is at full blast, and as far as I know, the FV150 on the flash mode at 1:1, it has the power equivalent to 4 times the power of the LED. In this case, will be about 600 watts. The half will be about 300 watts, and so on. Now, I don't like the modeling light that strong, but before I change anything, I'm going to be pressing the test button here, which takes almost 3/4 of a second to resume. So you cannot fire the flash when this test button is off, because the capacitor is not ready yet. Again, I wish it had a beep. So you shoot, and then there's like a boop, and then shoot again. That would be cool. Now, to decrease the intensity of the modeling light, it has nothing to do with the LED or as the LED here. And by the way, to change from LED, one control has nothing to do with it. If I have the LED at 17%, while my flash is still at 100%, okay, which is cool. When you go back to the LED, you have your power set to the 17% that you left. When you're gonna go back to the flash, is at the 100%. And I particularly like the modeling light not to be so bright. I like it set to 5%, especially for the video, so stuff doesn't get blown up too badly, you know. So it's, you know, as you can see, it's blowing up right here. but the minimum brightness of the modeling light on the flash side is 5%, which you can go from 5 to 100%. On the LED, you can go all the way to 0% or 1% increments again. So to change the LED intensity is the right knob, and the flash is the left knob for the modeling light. To change the flash intensity is the right knob. And again, to turn off the modeling light, you just press this knob here once, the icon goes out and there's no more modeling light. You want to go back here, press it again, there it is, set the intensity. Now the sync jack here is a standard mono TS jack that you can actually either control the camera via a wire or cable or whatever you want to call it, or if you have already the Godox X Pro, X2 or XT32 remote control, you can actually use it, which you're also going to be taking advantage of the high sync feature, which is up to 1/8,000th of a second. I have just the Pocket Wizard that my particular model does not support high-speed sync. So with that said, I'm going to be limited to shoot just portraits or anything that doesn't move fast. Anybody jumping, whatever, that one you need the high-speed sync. The same thing you use with your Canon or Nikon flash. So the flash feature here, I thought it was very cool and very convenient to have something like this on a LED/flash, which I can find very useful. I can just grab this, you know, if somebody wants to take a picture, I can switch this thing real quick to flash when I don't have my flash available. But there's a little caveat to that. At least with the flash feature on this, which works pretty well, this somehow affects also your shutter instead of just ISO and aperture, because when you have a studio flash, when you change the aperture or the ISO, obviously you're gonna alter the exposure. But with a studio flash, let's say that I want a window brighter or darker or whatever, all you gotta do is change your shutter to the ambient lighting, but the flash, the exposure should be remaining the same. But with this flash here, if you change the shutter, it will affect the exposure of the image, just so you know. The remote that comes with this unit here, as you can see, the light is slightly brighter than the old RCA5. I'm actually pressing the light right now here, and I can hardly see unless I cover with my hand, and I can see that little dim display. And this one is super nice. You can see the blue thing going on here. Again, the RCA5 that comes with the Godox SL series, all you have to do is to update the channel number and the group number, and the light magically pairs and works with this light. This light here, if you're used to the Godox SL 60W or 60Y, so you might have a little bit of a hard time pairing up this remote with this light if you don't read the manual, those little things that is very important to read the manual. On this particular remote or this light, there is a second step which I wasn't aware that I have to press and hold the same group channel button here. You press it twice, and then the ID comes up over here, which you have to go to the menu here, and then you press and hold, so you can change the ID. In my case, I have it set to ID 01. Press it once again, the right button to confirm. So this has to match. By the way, if you take a long time to make your selection here, this goes back to the main display. So double click the thing again, ID comes up, so ID 01, matching the 01 right there. And group 0, in my case I had it set to 0, and there it is, set to 0 right here. And finally the channel, which is set to 1, I have it set to 1. If you change one thing between the ID on the menu here or the group and the channel, of course the remote will no longer work. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to change the ID here, press and hold, and there you go. The remote no longer works. Change the ID back to 01, press and hold. And there it is. You can actually turn it off. And I actually like the fact that the fan is still running, because when you shut off the light from the remote, you can actually have the fan run in case of a hot day or the light is overheating, whatever. It's always so good when you take a break and the fan is on to keep cooling the light further. If you don't want any fan whatsoever, all you gotta do is power this thing off here, and there you go. The whole light is silenced, including the fan. Another thing that is cool about the improvements they made on this light here on the Godox SL series, when you shut off the light, let's say that you are at 10% for a long time, and you decide to change to 13%. As soon as you power off the light, it will not keep that information in the memory. You have to wait a whole minute or so, 45 seconds, until it kind of locks in. On this light over here, you can actually turn it on, change the setting to whatever, for example 21%, shut it off, turn it back on, it remembers the setting immediately, which is great. It's another improvement over the 60 SL, 60W, and 60Y, because they have a little bit of a memory issue, because if you adjust the setting of whatever that is and shut off the light immediately, it's not going to remember. It goes back to whatever setting 2 minutes ago, if you know what I'm saying. And finally, one last thing about the RCA5 remote with the Godox SL series. When you change the light intensity, you can see the display changing at the same time. However, with the RCA6 remote, I'm going to demonstrate this to you right now. So I'm actually going to be pressing the plus button to increase the intensity of the light. And as you can see, I'm pressing and holding. You see the numbers changing here. The light will only update or respond the moment that you release the button. I have a similar thing with the Generate Powerhouse. They have the same type of way to work with the light. So you only update when you release the button. And the SL60W, you just press and hold here, and the thing changes at the same time in real time. I mean, it's no big deal. It's just so you can get used to, if you're used to the SL series, this light you have to press and hold a little bit, okay? There you go. Now to turn it off is instant, the light, you know, but the fan still runs, of course. Turn it back on is instant. Just increasing and decreasing the numbers on the light intensity, that's something to get used to. This light comes randomly shipped with the remote set to whatever, because this remote can actually range from 2500 to 10,000 Kelvin, while this one here only 3200 to 5600 or something like that. So these are two different remotes, two different lights, and every day they invent something else to go with these lights over here. So there it is. So a lot of you guys wonder why you can't go past 25% with the Godox SL series. Is because sometimes the remote control that comes with this unit comes shipped with the wrong color temperature. Because this control can range for bicolor lights, or Godox makes a lot of lights that use the same remote. So this light is only daylight, the 60Y is only tungsten light, and some lights they are bicolor. That's why sometimes it comes with the wrong color temperature. They just put the remote in a box and ship it out, right? So to get the 10% on a 60W or the 60Y, all you gotta do is to make sure when you press and hold the middle button here that says set, you actually adjust the color temperature to 5600, and then when you control from the remote, you'll be able to see the light dropping all the way to 10%. As soon as you change by a single 100-degree wrong, the light is going to be limited to 25% only. Again, I'm not talking about this light, I'm talking about the Godox SL series. Now this remote here, that problem doesn't exist with this light. It doesn't matter how far of a range the color temperature is, this light will still be able to do 0 to 1% increments all the way to 100, regardless what color temperature is set over here, which is great. So right now I'm at 3300 Kelvin, light intensity 0, channel 1, group 0. If you press the minus and plus buttons together, this remote control is going to be factory reset. And as you can see, it goes back to 50%, 3300 Kelvin, which is not a problem, even if these numbers here don't match the 56 Kelvin to the 3300. And I'm on channel 1, group A. Now over here, you can also factory reset this light. You just turn the light off. Press and hold this button here. And then you're going to see the firmware version is 1.0. Release the button, everything is reset. When you go to the menu, everything is set to whatever I have not set over here. Set to off and all that stuff. So over here on the group, I gotta make sure it's 0 to match the 0 here. And then press the button once again, and then one more time longer. That's your channel, channel 1 with channel 1. And then exit that. So I have here 0 with 0 and 1 with 1. ID matches the 01. Same exact thing over here. So everything matches. And then you can actually get off here and get off here. Remote is working and the light is working again. You can power it off. The power cord here, of course you want to make sure the light is off. And I see a lot of people like wiggling the cable. This is what causes problems. Like any other outlet, never grasp the thing from the wire, and you don't want to wiggle like this. You want to grab the light firmly and yank it out straight, because when you start wiggling things, no AC outlet likes that. This light, your outlet or whatever, phone charger, anything that you plug, you don't want to do this. You know, you want to plug it in straight and remove straight. Another cool thing here, the actual bulb, right? When on LED mode, you turn it on, and then when you turn it off, you have that, it takes a little while to go out. See, I'm going to do that again. And when you are on flash mode, let's see what happens. It doesn't do that, even with the modern light on. Interesting. Now let's kill the light off here, just the flash itself. Yeah. And full power. Okay, interesting. Huh. I don't know if you want to take a look at this, but this is what the chip on board LED on this light looks like, the little pattern here. Just thought you would be interested in seeing how this looks like. Another cool thing that they did here, besides being a hybrid combination of LED/flash, they actually put a little effects in this light. I think it's like 7, 8 or 9 different effects, which helps you a little bit with the production. So it starts from like a pulsing thing, lightning storm, broken bulb, TV screen simulation. So on LED mode, not on flash, you gotta be on LED mode. You simply press this button here, and then you see the effect. So the first one is this. Let me increase the intensity over here to 100%, I guess. So it keeps doing this, right? Then effect number 2 from the left button. Then it's like a slower thing here. This is just like a lighthouse kind of whatever, pulsing, whatever. Then number 3, slower, even slower. So the first one is like fast, second one not so fast, and then this is slower. And I think the 4 is starting with the lightning thing. And then it keeps repeating like that. It doesn't change, it's just that. Let's see what the 5 does. I think what the difference is a slight delay. Like the 4 is less pause, right? Yeah. And then going back to the 5 here, it's more delayed kind of thing. Which is great, you know, you don't want to storm every 3 seconds on your film, you know. Let's see what happens to the 6. I'm looking at the monitor, what this is doing, so. I don't know, this is one more flash or whatever between the, I don't know. And the number 7 is a TV screen simulation. Let me just turn this down here, because who's gonna watch a 100% 150 watt TV, right? So, matter of fact, let me turn off this light here. Here you go. And finally is the broken bulb. I'm shooting on a higher shutter over there. I don't know if that's gonna be recording properly. Let me slow this thing down here. I'm recording 30 frames per second, shutter at 60, because this thing's flashing very rapidly. So I don't know, maybe in this condition over here might not record properly, but I'm sure there's a way to tweak the camera around. And this is a very fast blinking, like 1,000 things per second. It's called the broken bulb or whatever. Now the effects thing here, the only thing that I really wish I could actually customize, as a matter of fact, there's a lot of LED lights that they have just the fixed patterns. Whatever the factory gives you is what you get. And we don't have the ability, at least on the lights of this price over here. So with the effects and everything, I have these RGB lights. There's also tungsten and daylight and everything, whatever. So of course, I understand to keep the cost down. You know, it is what they give you. All these lights that I showed you here. So all you have is what they give you as far as the pattern and the settings go. But it would be cool if we have a little menu here to at least edit the frequency or the interval, especially on the lightning storm, so they don't repeat too close to the other next lightning thing that you see on the frame, because I have to cover the light somehow so it doesn't see the lightning effect. Another thing that I see in movies, right? When you have the lightning, as soon as that comes on, you have the sound instantly embedded on the movie. In real life, because the speed of light, which is the lightning that you see in the sky, 186,000 miles per second. That's the lighting that you see in the sky. And the sound is 340 meters per second, which is super slow compared to light. So every time I watch a movie, as soon as you see the lightning, the sound happens at the same time. So if you go outside on a rainy day with a lot of thunderstorms, first you're going to see the lighting on the sky, and then like 9 seconds later, here comes the rumbling noise of the thing. So I actually shot a movie with this effect, and then somebody said, hey, how come the light is not, that's because of the difference in speeds, and to be more realistic, or, then people was like, oh, how come the thing is not matching? Yes, it is matching. This is the right way, but for the regular people, I guess I changed to the, as soon as they see the lightning effect, I put the sound there, but this is actually wrong. This is not how it happens, right? But whatever. Now the next test we're going to be doing here is the power consumption, which is very useful and very critical, especially if you want to plan to plug this light via DC outdoor somewhere, which you can either buy the existing power inverter from Godox, or if you have your own, make sure it is a pure sine wave power inverter. Never attempt to use a regular cheap Walmart square wave, because 90% of those inverters are made of square wave because they're cheap. So here's an example where you don't want to buy and what you don't want to do or use when you buy those cheap inverters. What happens when you have a non-pure sine wave inverter, which this features a square wave, is a completely different thing, okay? The home outlet, the sine wave, is this shape. So this is what this device is like to be charged or to be powered by, okay? If you use the square wave, bad news. So I'm just gonna hook this up here. So let's power this on here, and I'm gonna show you the buzzing that this produces. So that's enough for me, so no more. I don't want to damage my light. Now you understand how harmful this can be to your devices, your lights, or your iPhone, anything that you charge via the AC plug. Turn the power on here, wait a few seconds, and then, there you go. Now hear for yourself, there's no buzzing, there's no humming of any kind, thanks to the pure sine wave this generator provides. But what you want to have is a reliable unit like this, that if you want to plug stuff here is okay, if you want to plug stuff here is fine, and also here, everything is good. I cannot stress this enough, because if you power this light, even your cell phone, anything that has a circuit board inside, the square wave is meant for like tools like, tire inflators or mattresses inflators or incandescent bulbs. Other than that, anything that has a delicate circuitry like this, you want to do pure sine wave only. I cannot stress that enough. It's more expensive, but spend the money, don't kill your light. Right now we are at 0 watts and the light is at 0%. You have 5.7 watts to 6 or whatever, because the fan is spinning and all the circuits are running over here. As little as 1% with the fan and all that junk that are included, you're looking at already 10 watts of power. Your refrigerator bulb is already 20 watts on an incandescent light. 10%, you're looking at about 19 watts. And 20%, about 30 some watts, 31 watts. 50%, you're looking at 74, 73 watts, 72. And 100%. You're looking at 168 watts, adding the 150 watts plus the other, whatever it takes to run this whole light in there, the fan spinning. On flash mode, at full power. Let me wait until the steam resets. They go back to the 5.7 watts. Should be around 16 watts or something. It's not that fast, but I know it is. And at the lowest power here, it barely registers. So here's a pure sine wave power inverter that I have which runs on sine wave. You just plug in the Godox cable here, the FV150, switch it on, turn the light on. So at 100%, as you know, is over 160 some watts with this light. This unit can handle up to 300 watts, and there's a fan here which occasionally kicks in. I haven't seen this light turning on this fan here for at least 20 minutes, and most of the shooting I'll be doing outdoors, I don't think I need to be anything more than 55%, even less. So that allows me to shoot for quite some time, at least 2 hours I would say, even longer. Now if you don't have one of these, I would recommend you buy the Godox one, because when you have the same thing of the same brand, most likely you're gonna have no problems with destroying your light or something going wrong. There's a power inverter that I saw on the manual. I don't know if this is a brand new item because I couldn't find it on the internet, but you should email Godox and ask them about that power supply that they have in the manual, which is designed for this light over here. Another thing to keep in mind, with any LED, if you want to power off the unit, make sure you go all the way down to like 10% or 1%, somewhere like that, and power it off. Because every time you power the light on from code at 100%, you're going to be interfering with the longevity of the LED, or so was I told. So when you turn on the light here, make sure it's not blasting at 100%. You take it to 100%. So try to avoid running any LED at 100%. I'm just being very scientifically picky over here. But you know, when you buy the light, you use it for whatever, right? But if you don't need the 100%, just try to avoid the 100%. It saves you a long time on the LED. Same thing with the halogen incandescent bulb. 150 watt bulb. You crank it up to 100% without a dimmer, the light is going to last 150 hours. When you dim the incandescent regular bulb all the way to like 20%, it's going to last you a year. Hope the audio will be okay here as I move around and the microphone is not. So I'm doing a test with the light meter to see the intensity of the light. So right now my ISO 830 frames per second at 3 meters away or 9 feet away from the light and the wall here. So the reading is 1.4, which is almost f2, somewhere in between. The light is at 1%. At 10%, the readings now will be almost f4, f2 8.5. At 50%, we're looking at f8. And at 100, we should be close to f11. Move 1 inch closer, you are f11 or something like that. There you go. So we are at f11 with the light at 100%, ISO 800, 30 frames per second. I use the ISO 800 because it is a default native thing for the C100 Mark II. Now adding a light modifier at 10%, we are at f14.3, which is 14.5. At 50%, we're looking at f28, almost f4. And finally at 100%, we're looking at f4.5. So with the light at 100%, I am exactly 3 feet away from the light. This is where usually you put the subjects for portrait and more control of the nice light fall out. This is pointing exactly at the light, and we're looking at f11 at 100%. You're talking about f4. Just in case you need the modifier on with the light at 1% at the same 3 feet away, you're looking at f2 at a ISO 800. And here's the actual distance again of the microphone placed this close to the light, which is about 14 inches away. And this is the fan noise that you hear with the microphone pointing right at the thing. Now by simply moving the mic in the opposite direction, this is the actual sound of the fan towards your recording. at 14 inches away. And of course, when you back up the mic like that somewhere else, which is what you should do, you should hear absolutely nothing. So I'm gonna grab my camera over there, put it in the back there to take one single still image of myself. It's not that much to look at, but at least I'm showing you guys that pretty much anything that you connect here with your camera. I have the Pocket Razr Plus 3, but unfortunately the receiver is the Plus 2, and this particular receiver does not support the high-speed sync. So all we gotta do is plug this thing on the sync here, which requires a mono or TS 1/8 of an inch or 3.5 millimeter cable. So pretty much this is a mono to mono TS cable that you're gonna plug it on a flash here and to the sync. So I actually Velcro the thing here. So all you gotta do is mount this here and put the cable in the back here. But the point here is to show you the unit actually works by connecting a flash trigger here, and the light does synchronize with the shutter of the camera. Alright, so I'm gonna try a shot of myself here by myself. Hopefully it's gonna come out okay. There you go. So the 1DX Mark II, for being the flagship of Canon, I know the Mark III is coming up, but there's no such thing as a beep when you're taking a picture. There's no sound. You're just gonna guess the 10 seconds or whatever. Go figure. So that's pretty much it for my review. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And also don't forget to comment, because I answer all my comments. And once again, thank you very much for watching the video, and have a good day or a good night.